Assalamu Alaikum, brothers and sisters. Hope you guys are doing well. I'm out here again, Speaker's Corner, and we're going to be asking some brothers some questions, inshallah. Today I'm here with Brother Paul, and we're going to be talking about the Islamic view on homosexuality. So, Brother Paul, what are the Islamic views on homosexuality in your opinion?
I think there are a lot of misconceptions about what Islam teaches about homosexuality. If you look on social media or even in the papers, you get the idea that Islam kills gays, or we see what IS are up to as well, when they, there's appalling things they do to people for being gay. So we're told. So I think the Islamic understanding is not commonly known outside of Muslim circles, or perhaps even in Muslim circles. And the thing is about Islam, it's just like Judaism and in Christianity traditionally as well, is that Islam is focused on acts. It's not about people being gay or being straight. That's not recognised as a category in Islam. It's to do with your behaviour. So whether you are committing adultery or fornication or homosexual acts and so on, it's the acts themselves that are wrong. And the only acceptable place for sexual intimacy in Islamic understanding is heterosexual marriage between a man and a woman, obviously for life. So any sexual relationships outside of that are wrong. So it's not picking on gays or picking on anyone else. It's simply that all those acts are wrong. And in terms of the criminal law, the had punishments, there isn't, as far as I understand, agreement amongst Islamic scholars about what the punishment should be. But the punishment only pertains to acts, whether it be adulterous acts or fornicatory acts or homosexual acts done in public. Because in Islam there is this quite sharp separation between the public realm, like here, or the private realm, behind your locked door. So the state is not supposed to intrude and spy on you in Islamic society. We're dealing here with public acts. So if you commit adultery in public, you commit fornication in public, you commit homosexuality, then that's a serious crime, as well as being a sin. Now, in terms of the punishment, as I say, there is disagreement. Many schools of thought think that the punishment for homosexual acts in public is death. It's death penalty. Okay. But there have to be 4 unimpeachable witnesses, upstanding witnesses.
Is that the same with Christianity and Judaism?
It's Judaism. I understand that I think it's 2 witnesses, not 4, so slightly less evidential value in the Torah. This is in the Jewish law. In Christianity, it was a capital crime until quite recently, of course, until the rise of the modern Western secular world. It was a capital crime in the West. In Britain, obviously, sodomy was a crime, and we're actually right by, in Speaker's Corner here, by Tyburn, and which is the place of execution for people. Where it used to happen just here, actually. And there's a tree, there's a mark here surrounded by 3 trees, which commemorates the execution of people. Over 800 years, people executed just here for sodomy, amongst many other crimes. Catholics and Protestants were executed as well for their faith. So for something to be punishable in Islam, in society, it has to be public. It has to be 4 upstanding witnesses who then have to testify in court, a court of law, that they witnessed the actual act of penetration. Now, I'm not going to go into details, but we're not talking about just kissing someone on the cheek. We're talking about much more serious matters than that. And if then there are 4 witnesses and they do testify, and it is the actual act, and they testify in court, then you're in trouble. Then that you could receive the full force of the law. But the point is, how likely is this in reality to happen?
Yeah, because it might be.
It's virtually impossible. It's virtually impossible. I mean, you have to be very stupid. And even in Britain, it's still a crime. You can't commit adultery or any other act like over there in Hyde Park and just say, hey, it's freedom. You'll be arrested for public indecency or whatever the law is. So it's still a crime even in Britain today. Sodomy is a crime in public. It's not in private, obviously. Now, in private in Islam, I'm not saying that it's not a sin. Of course it's a sin, but it's between you and God. And the state can't come in and spy on you and say, your neighbour saw through your over the through the window and all that. You can't. That's not the way it's done under Sharia law. So there's a misconception here about Islam punishing gays. It doesn't recognise gays as a...
We don't classify them as gays, or
exactly.
We just classify them as humans, basically.
Exactly. So it's not a recognised category at all. But heterosexuality is the norm actually. It's not homosexuality or bisexuality, transsexuality. These are not seen as normal. The norm is heterosexuality in Islam, as it is in traditional Judaism and traditional Catholicism, traditional Hinduism, traditional, you name it, is always seen as the norm.
So how would you respond to the science theory? In my opinion, I think it's still a theory that people are born gay, and what's the Islamic view on that?
Well, again, I'm not a scholar, so you're asking as a layman here, but what I understand is the science is not saying that there's like a gay gene, and if there's a gay gene, this person's going to be a gay. It's not how it works. That there's a complex interaction between nature and nurture, between our genetic inheritance and the environment that we live in our early upbringing, maybe in the womb as well, that determines our course of events, our sexuality. And also, I think...
So it's nothing internal, it's external factors, basically?
It's both. I think, from what I understand, the latest science is there isn't a gay gender, it's a myth. There is a complicated interplay between our physical, biological side and our environmental pressures and nurturing and so on. And also that sexuality is actually quite fluid and flexible. I've always noticed this with female sexuality, actually, that some women, I don't know, straight women in their 40s suddenly decide they're going to be lesbian and get married, have an affair with a woman. I mean, where'd that come from? So I think sexuality is quite, particularly for women, but I don't know why, is quite fluid and changeable for many women. So it's not fixed. You're not born with an absolutely fixed nature. But as regards Islam, I think it doesn't matter so much how it's caused, it's what we do with it. Say I was a paedophile. I'm not, but say I was.
He's
I'm
not.
No. But I'll give you. Say I was, a compulsive need to sleep with young girls, or whatever. It doesn't mean I have a right to express those feelings in actions. And God has a right over us in Islam. There's a wonderful hadith in Bukhari which talks about
the discussion over there as well, right?
But God has rights over us. So God has rights that we should worship Him alone, which means submitting our lives to Him. So if you're a good Muslim, you accept the will of God as the best will for yourself.
Okay, yeah.
And that's where happiness lies. We're here briefly in this lifetime. The idea is that we look to the Akhirah, the life after death, where we'll spend most of our existence. And for this life, for many of us, is a trial. It's a place of testing to see which choices we will make. Will we choose the easy way, which is to fulfill our desires, or the more difficult way, which leads to eternal life with God? 4 witnesses in a court of law, but not any 4 witnesses. People with impeccable character.
So it can't be just some random people.
It can't just be four dudes walking down the street. They've got to be guys who are known never to have, seriously transgressed or be liars, of good character, who witnessed the act, by the way. It's not just they heard about it, they actually witnessed the act of penetration, which is very graphically described. And
because it's a serious matter, right?
It's a very serious matter. So for me, the had punishments are deterrents. They're almost symbolically to indicate to us how serious God views these crimes, these sins against Himself. Because these are offences that had punishments against God, directly against God, and He's decreed the punishment. But I say in practice, unless you're a complete idiot and you want to fornicate and have 4 when looking, I mean, it's just, it's silly. It's not going to happen. But and this is why I think the problem. The other thing is about Islamic State and constantly killing people. It's that there's an element of mercy in the Sharia which is missing. Well, at least what I see of them. I mean, what do we know? We only read the Daily Mail. We don't necessarily know what's really going on. But there is an important ruling from the Prophet himself that says we should try and find exceptions. We should try and find reasons not to implement the had punishments, because if you make a mistake, you can't rectify it. So qadis are supposed to look for reasons not to implement. So was there some problem in the procedures? Was there evidence missing? Was the person perhaps unaware of the law because they were, they're too young, or they're mad, or you're supposed to look for reasons to not implement them, and that's actually part of the Sharia. So you're not supposed to enthusiastically go out and try and punish people. That's contrary, is the opposite to the Sunnah of the Prophet.
Mm-hmm. So you have to be 100% guaranteed that this person committed this act. You can't be like 99%.
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
It's interesting because what ISIS are doing is completely. They just, I heard this guy committed adultery, so I'm just going to go kill him. It's completely wrong. It's against the Sharia law.
That's
anyway.
why I get suspicious. Indeed. So
Anyway, thank you very much, Brother Paul, once again. It's been really nice talking to you. Sorry, my hands are cold. It's freezing out here.
I thought you were wiping something off them.
No, my hands are really cold. All right,
Okay.
thank you so much, Brother
Pleasure.
Paul.
As in what people used to do, some people in the past, they used to look at something they don't understand and say God did it. That's God of the gaps.